What makes a person who deeply understands others end up feeling the most isolated in a world of fierce competition? Stay until the end of this video and you will see the strange transformation, how an empath turns their burden into strength, and why Carl Jung called them misunderstood souls. There are people in the world of business and boardrooms and negotiations who always feel out of place. While most focus only on profit and numbers, the empath notices something else: the hidden layers beneath the surface. They hear the tension inside a voice that pretends to be steady. They see the flicker of insecurity in someone's eyes, even as that person smiles with confidence. And because they sense more than others, they are often judged harshly, dismissed as too sensitive or too soft for such a competitive environment. Carl Jung once described this as the mark of a particular kind of soul, one that can connect with the unconscious depths that most people ignore. In a meeting, an empath doesn't just hear words, they feel the atmosphere, they absorb emotions that remain unspoken. This ability can be a form of power, yet it can also leave them vulnerable because their sensitivity makes them a target. When someone is unwilling to confront the darkness within themselves, they unconsciously project it outward. And more often than not, the empath becomes the mirror that catches these projections. This is why empaths are so often misunderstood. Others fail to see that behind what looks like fragility lies a rare gift: the capacity to perceive human truth at its deepest level. In business, deals are not only about contracts or numbers, but about encounters between complex human beings. One person may enter a negotiation with confidence on their face, but fear of loss trembling inside. Another may present generosity while quietly hiding greed. Most people overlook these contradictions, but an empath feels them immediately. Take, for example, the partner who promises we'll always stand together. An empath notices the clenched fist, the averted eyes that reveal insecurity, or the leader who speaks of a great vision, while beneath the words, the empath senses the pulse of anxiety. This sensitivity allows the empath to grasp the truth more clearly than anyone else, but it also exposes them to danger. A cunning but dishonest person may perform emotions to manipulate the empath's trust, turning empathy into a trap. Jung explained it clearly. When someone refuses to face their own shadow, they push it onto others. And in the world of business, empaths often become the vessel that absorbs unspoken rage, hidden fear, and buried ambition. They are made into mirrors, reflecting back truths that no one else dares to confront. In the world of business, the surface often looks calm, like a still lake. Yet, if you observe closely, the empath will notice strange ripples beneath. While others are absorbed in growth charts and profit margins, the empath feels the dissonance between words and moods, between firm handshakes and averted eyes. These subtle misalignments reveal that something unspoken lingers, an unacknowledged truth waiting to surface. Imagine a negotiation. One side projects complete confidence, emphasizing their stability. But the empath hears the tremor in the breath, sees the hand tightening under the table. To them, it is a sign of insecurity that numbers cannot conceal. Or consider a businessman who repeatedly speaks of fairness, while his eyes betray a hunger to win at all costs. The empath does not need evidence, they simply feel it. And this is precisely why they become a threat. The silence of an empath can unsettle an opponent. A simple, innocent-sounding question can awaken hidden fears. In that instant, the atmosphere shifts, like a door flung open into the shadow someone has tried to lock away for years. When confronted by the empath's perception, a familiar reaction often emerges: denial. Not denial of figures or strategies, but of inner truth. To protect their ego, people label the empath as too sensitive, too fragile for the harshness of the marketplace. But this is only the ego defending itself against the mirror that the empath unconsciously holds up. Carl Jung once said that people despise in others what they cannot accept in themselves. Nowhere is this clear than in business. A leader who cannot face his own insecurity dismisses the empath's sensitivity as weakness. An executive unwilling to acknowledge his shadowed ambition will see the empath's insight as a threat, yet the reality is the opposite. The empath's gift is not weakness. It is the very key to understanding the hidden undercurrents that govern every business decision. They perceive the fears that go unspoken, the desires that remain unnamed. And because of this, they are often misunderstood. For the world is never quick to embrace those who pierce through appearances, who touch the essence, who leave the shadow nowhere to hide. At a deeper level, the tragedy of the empath does not lie in being misunderstood by others, but in the belief that such misunderstanding is true. When told repeatedly that they are not strong enough, they begin to doubt their own worth. Thus, their unique gift, the ability to connect with the unconscious, to feel the emotions others run from, becomes to them a burden. And this is the moment when the shadow begins to creep into the empath's soul. Carl Jung called this the confrontation with the shadow, an essential step in the journey of individuation. For the empath, the shadow is not only their own fear, but the collective projections of others. The fear of failure, the weight of insecurity, greed, and repressed anger. They carry burdens that never truly belong to them. And unless they awaken to this truth, they will remain trapped in self-doubt. But from this very struggle, strength can be reborn. When the empath learns to face the shadows that are not theirs, they begin to distinguish between the emotions of others and the authentic voice within their own soul. At that moment, sensitivity ceases to be a burden and transforms into a compass, an inner guide, pointing them toward the reality beneath every negotiation, every relationship, every human encounter. When an empath truly matures, they begin to understand that they were never born to carry the emotions of others. They are not a container for someone else's anxiety, anger, or ambition. On the contrary, their presence exists to help others see themselves more clearly. In business relationships, this becomes profoundly important, because behind every contract or number, it is people with their fears, insecurities, and true desires who ultimately decide everything. An empath who once felt weak when dismissed as fragile now realizes that their ability is a rare asset. When they are no longer swept away by borrowed emotions, they can see the situation more clearly than anyone else. They know when a partner is being honest and when words are only a disguise. They sense the inconsistency between promises and true feelings, and this awareness allows them to remain clear-sighted in situations where others are easily deceived by appearances. Jung called this journey the path toward the true self. When an empath learns to stand firmly within themselves, they are no longer as vulnerable as before. Instead, they become an anchor, an invisible signal light for what is really unfolding beneath the surface. And this is the true value that makes them irreplaceable in any relationship, even in the ruthless world of commerce. When an empath realizes they are no longer a dumping ground for the shadows of others, everything changes. They begin to see with clarity that fear, that anger, that greed, none of it belongs to them. These are fragments of others, carelessly thrown onto their shoulders. And the moment the empath returns those fragments, they find themselves again. In a business world filled with noise and calculation, such clarity is like a sudden light being lit. Others may continue to wear masks, but the empath knows they have already seen through them. No need for arguments, no need to expose. By their calm presence alone, the empath compels others to be more honest. This is a power no contract can buy, no strategy can replace. Here lies the turning point. From being underestimated, the empath becomes a foundation for truth. They no longer fear the shadows of others, because they have learned how to stand in the light of their own being. And this transforms sensitivity into a priceless gift, both protecting them and opening a doorway for those who are brave enough to begin the journey of self-reflection. Perhaps this is why Carl Jung believed empaths are often misunderstood souls. For in a world obsessed with power and profit, those who dare to live authentically will always feel out of place. But being out of place does not mean being weak. Sometimes, being out of place is the mark of those who walk a step ahead, pioneers who make it possible for other souls to return to themselves. When an empath learns to keep what belongs to them and to return to the world what was never theirs to carry, that is the moment sensitivity becomes strength. They are no longer lost, but instead a living reminder that even in the fiercest marketplace, authenticity can still exist, and it can still prevail. If these words resonate with your heart, allow them time to take root. And if you wish to keep walking this path of exploring the depths of the soul through the lens of Carl Jung, don't forget to subscribe. That way, we can continue to meet here to illuminate the hidden corners and to discover the true light that lives within each of us.